Your brain doesn't remember what's done. It remembers what's left open. Quick question. Can you remember the last time someone left you unread? Not what they said before that, just the silence after. Now try to remember a conversation from last month that ended completely, with a clean goodbye. Harder, right? Think about a text that never got a reply, a conversation cut off mid-sentence, a show you stopped one episode before the finale. None of these are finished, and that's exactly why you can't stop thinking about them. Meanwhile, the argument you actually resolved, the project you completed, barely crosses your mind anymore. It's the unfinished ones that keep replaying, uninvited, at 2 in the morning. In the 1920s, a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something strange in a Vienna café. Waiters could perfectly recall complicated, unpaid orders, juggling a dozen tables without writing anything down. But the moment a bill was paid, that order vanished from memory almost instantly. Why do you think that happens? Because the mind doesn't hold on to what's resolved. It holds on to what's still open. This became known as the Zeigarnik Effect. Unfinished tasks stick in memory far harder than completed ones. This isn't a minor quirk. It's the exact mechanism behind why cliffhangers work, why you check your phone the second you see typing disappear without a message. Ever wonder why one unfinished argument eats at you more than one you actually won? Your mind treats incompletion like an open loop demanding closure, and it pulls your attention back again and again until that loop closes. Here's what makes this uncomfortable. Once you understand this, you will start noticing how many industries, relationships, and even manipulators exploit it deliberately, leaving things unresolved on purpose. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, are you ready to see it? And if you enjoy uncovering secrets like this, make sure you're subscribed to Sam Knows, because we're going to keep bringing you exactly this. Now let's get into it. Let's find this pattern in your actual life, because once you start looking, you'll see it everywhere. Think about the last Netflix series you binged in one sitting. Was it because every episode was incredible, or because each one ended right before something got answered? That's not an accident. Writers deliberately cut scenes at the exact moment tension peaks, because they know an unanswered question will pull you into the next episode faster than any plot twist ever could. Now think about advertising. Ever notice how commercials for medications end with, "Ask your doctor if this is right for you," instead of just telling you the answer? That unfinished thought lingers, quietly working on your mind, days after you saw it. Marketers know finished information gets forgotten. Open questions get remembered. Here's one that might sting a little. Think about a relationship that ended without a clear reason, someone who pulled away without an explanation, or a conversation that got interrupted right before something important was about to be said. Why do you think you still think about that person more than the ones who gave you a clean, honest goodbye? It's because your mind never got to close the loop, so it keeps reopening it, searching for an ending that never came. Teachers who use this well know something too. Ending a class with a question instead of an answer. We'll find out why tomorrow. Keep students thinking about the topic long after the bell rings, far more than if the lesson had wrapped up neatly with everything explained. Even in your own to-do list, have you noticed how a half-finished task nags at you throughout the day, even small ones, while a finished task disappears from your mind completely within minutes? That itch you feel isn't about the task's importance. It's your brain refusing to let go of something incomplete. So here's the real question. How much of your daily anxiety, your racing thoughts at night, and how much of it is simply your mind refusing to close a loop it was never given permission to close? So how does something so simple control so much of your attention? Let's actually break down the mechanism, because once you understand it, you'll start using it instead of being used by it. Here's the core idea. Your brain treats every unfinished task like an open file it can't close. Psychologists call this cognitive tension, a low-level mental itch that stays active in the background until resolution arrives. Think of it like a browser tab you forgot was open. You're not actively thinking about it every second, but it's quietly draining your mental battery the entire time it stays open, whether you notice it or not. Now, here's where this becomes a tool instead of just a discomfort. The first technique is the open loop. Instead of stating a complete thought, you deliberately leave a gap. I figured out why people always feel guilty after saying no, and it's not what you'd expect. Notice how that sentence pulls at you. You want the rest. That gap is doing the work, not the content itself. The second technique is the strategic pause. Ever notice how the most persuasive speakers stop mid-sentence right before the important word? That silence isn't hesitation. It's calculated. The pause creates tension, and your mind rushes to fill it, making you lean in rather than tune out. The third is the promised return. I'll explain that in a second, but first, this single phrase keeps someone's attention anchored for the entire time in between because their mind is holding that promise open, refusing to let it go until it's fulfilled. Here's what ties all four together. None of them lie. None of them trick anyone with false information. They simply withhold completion, just enough, just long enough, and let the other person's own mind do the rest of the work, chasing an ending it was never quite given. Now let's get honest for a second. Think of the one open loop that's been quietly running in your head for the longest, maybe years. A question you never got answered. A goodbye that never actually happened. A version of yourself you never got to become because something ended too abruptly to make sense of it. Why do you think that one memory still surfaces, even now, even after everything else from that time has faded? It's not because it was the most important moment of your life. It's because your mind was never allowed to close it, so it keeps quietly reopening the file, hoping this time it'll finally find the missing piece. Here's the exhausting part nobody tells you. You can't force closure by thinking about it harder. That's what everyone tries first, replaying the conversation, imagining what you should have said. And it never works, because the brain isn't looking for an answer, it's looking for an ending. And those aren't the same thing. So how do you actually close a loop that life never closed for you? First, you have to consciously write the ending yourself, not the one you were owed, the one you're choosing now. Literally write it down if you have to. This is what happened. This is why I'm no longer waiting for an explanation. This chapter is closed. Your brain responds to definitive statements far more than vague acceptance. Second, stop leaving yourself unfinished tasks as background noise. That guilt of an unanswered message, an unfinished project sitting untouched for weeks, close it, delete it, or schedule it. Anything that removes it from open file status in your mind. This isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding that your mind was never broken for holding on to unfinished things. It was doing exactly what it was built to do. The only thing that changes now is that you finally know how to give it permission to stop. Here's the twist most people never see coming once they actually understand this. The same open loop that torments you when you're on the receiving end becomes one of the most powerful tools you own the moment you learn to create it yourself. Ever wonder why the people who seem most magnetic in a room rarely say everything they're thinking? It's not mystery for the sake of mystery. It's an open loop, deliberately left unfinished, pulling your attention toward them without them ever having to ask for it. This is exactly the kind of brutal truth Machiavelli understood about human nature centuries before modern psychology gave it a name. He knew that control rarely comes from saying more. It comes from withholding just enough to keep someone reaching. The Zeigarnik Effect isn't just a memory quirk. It's one more piece of evidence that human attention has always been governed by incompletion, not information, and the people who understand that quietly hold more influence than the people who simply talk the most. So here's what this actually means for you, in both directions. When you feel that itch, that unfinished conversation, that unanswered question replaying at midnight, you now know it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's your mind doing exactly what it's built to do, and now you know how to close that loop on your own terms instead of waiting for someone else to hand you closure they may never give you. And when you want to hold someone's attention, whether in a conversation, a presentation, or a relationship, remember, you don't need to say everything. Leave one thread open. Let their own mind do the work of staying curious, staying engaged, staying with you. Here's the real lesson underneath everything we covered today. Your mind was never broken for holding on to unfinished things. It's simply wired to chase completion. If this video changed how you understand your own mind, make sure to like it and subscribe to Sam Knows, because next time, we're uncovering another hidden law of human nature that's been quietly running in the background of your life, without you ever realizing it was there.